Palpatine, Emperor Palpatine, Darth Sidious, Ian McDiarmid.
Thank you guys for turning up. I feel a little underdressed. Still it's black, you know.
Oh, I was going to bring you out to the Imperial March. Can you give me our best Imperial March? I'll do a 1, 2, 3, and we'll do it together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. How did we do as Canadians?
You did really well. I'm glad I'm wearing my glasses because I'm in tears.
Well, thank you so much for being up here. Your second time in Canada.
Yes, Calgary a few weeks ago and Toronto tonight. And I bring you all good wishes from the dark side.
I'm glad I'm wearing a urine-resistant pants.
Are you sure you are?
Maybe. Why do you love doing conventions like this? Because I'm sure other fans have seen you online doing other panels in the States. Why do you love coming to a convention like
I
this?
don't know, it's just people like you know. You have a good time, and it's a good chance to say hello to you, rather than disappear behind the hideous prosthetic 4-hour thing. That you know me as usually, and to find that with any luck, after an hour or so, that I'm a human being just like you, and that I have a sense of humor.
That's good to know. That's great to know. We're going to take a bunch of audience questions. We've got a good chunk of time, so I believe we have a mic runner out there. Can our mic runner raise his or her hand? Oh, there. Hello, sir. So if you just raise your hand and we will try to get to you. I want to ask you off the top. It's a question that you've had before, but as fans, we're so curious about it. Can you tell us about being cast as the Emperor? And I'm talking the first time around.
Yes, it was sheer luck, really, because they cast a different person. Some of you will know this. They wanted the oldest person in the world, and I wasn't that then. And they found a guy who was roughly in his 80s, and a wonderful actor actually, but he turned out not to be insurable because he couldn't take the contact lenses. They just wouldn't agree with his system. So at the very last minute, George and Richard Marquand, the director of the film, were looking for an emperor. And Mary Selway, late great casting director, knew me quite well, but she'd just seen me in a play in a small studio theatre in London called the Theatre Upstairs. And this play was an American play, Sam Shepard's play Seduced, which is about really his version of Howard Hughes. So that was me in the hair and fingernails and looking decrepit and so on. And so I guess Mary had said something to George like, I know this actor who's in his 30s who can be convincing as a very old person in close-up. So, as a result of that, my agent got a call, and I got a call from my agent who said the great ringing phrase, George Lucas wants to see you. And this was one lunchtime, and he said, of course, they're sending a car, and he said, as he said that, the car suddenly drove up. I think it was a car, not from outer space. Anyway, I got in it. Went down to Elstree, I think it was, yes it was. Met George and Richard Marquand. We had a very nice chat for 10 minutes about nothing special. And I thought, well, it's nice to meet him, obviously nothing's going to happen here. And as I was going out the door, he went, hey, great nose. And I don't know why, because I didn't know anything in those days, but I thought, maybe that means I'm in here. Anyway, I got home, the phone was ringing, this is all true. I picked it up and my agent said, you've got the part. I said, oh great, what's the part? And he consulted his notes, the way agents do, it took forever, and said, oh, apparently it's called the Emperor of the Universe. So I said, well, obviously, we'll be doing it. And you know the rest.
Did they ask you if you were okay with contact lenses?
No, they didn't. They just assumed I was, and I was. And I had a very good oculist guy who stood at my side, just off camera, just in case there was any problems. And they were made of glass in those days. And his name was Richard Glass. So I felt comforted by that.
Let's open it up to the floor for questions. questions. Oh, hello.
When you do the Emperor's voice, does it actually hurt? Your throat? Like, is it just in the back of your throat?
If I do it for a long time, it probably does. When I saw the hideous face for the first time, after the makeup test, about 6 hours really of prosthetics and all sorts of things, and I thought, my God, I look like a really ugly old toad. And I thought, well, I should probably try and sound like an ugly old toad. And, tends to come, if you're a toad, apparently, it comes from round about here in the throat, what we call the epiglottis. And I'd also at the same time been fascinated by Japanese actors, many of whom know how to speak from the stomach. So I thought, well, if I can get a combination of that sound, maybe that will work. So I did practice, of course, at home. And the studios are very dry, so I made sure I had lots of water standing by. But it just sort of evolved, and it came out of the face. And now I can do it more or less at the drop of a hat. But I have to warm the voice up first, so I'm not going to do a lot of it for you this evening, but some of it may slip out.
So, but it was really seeing that mask.
It was really, yes, the voice came from seeing the face. And of course the voice had already been established in the movies, as you'll know. In Empire Strikes Back, wonderful actor, had already done the voice, but he'd really done, well, he'd no idea, nobody really told him what he was supposed to do, and he'd just done his own voice, really. He didn't know also that it was going to be the voice of a woman with a monkey mask, or whatever that creature was. It was in the first hologram. And so he hadn't characterized it. But then Richard Marquand gave me a tape of his voice, of Clive's voice, and said, if you can get your voice near that, George might let you keep it. And I thought, oh really? I didn't know he was going to take it away. Anyway, I said, well, if Clive had seen the awful face, that he subsequently would have had he been playing the part, I'm sure he would have changed it. So then he said, oh, okay, go on, do what you're doing until somebody says stop. So I did it, and they let me keep it. But I guess it was always under discussion, because when I went to do most of the film, in fact I think probably all of it was revoiced. In those days you had to do that. We didn't have the great digital tracking system that we have now, so there was always external studio sound that would fit in, and for the great THX system, he needed separate tracks, so we would always know that we would come in and re-record. And in that recording studio in London, on that day when I came in to do it, there was George, of course, and Steven Spielberg, and Kathleen Kennedy, who now, as you know, is president of Lucasfilm. And they were very nice. It was exciting to meet them. And I did the first bit, and Stephen said, oh my God, you're so evil. And he thought, oh, and everybody in the room suddenly started to smile. So I don't think it was an audition, but if it hadn't seemed right, I suppose they would have asked me to do it slightly differently. But fortunately, the voice stayed, and I stayed with them.
Excellent. Another question from the floor? Where's our friend? Are you out there? Oh, hello. Hello, sir. Hello. What do you find harder to do, movies or theater?
Harder. They're sort of different, and yet they're the same. In the theatre, you usually have, well, you always have to, even if it's a small theatre, you always have to project the performance. I mean, it's for, as I'm doing now, I've got a microphone, but I could do it without. I have to get the intentions of the character to the audience, and that would be my primary function. Through all of the other actors, with all the other actors, we'd all be doing it together. But in a movie, what happens is your feelings, and particularly your thoughts, are being photographed by the camera. And if you do anything like projecting towards the camera, you will immediately seem phony and unreal. It's slightly different in the world of science fiction. When you're playing this grotesque monster, I think you're allowed a degree of projection. But it's always a fine line. But the difficulties don't really come from the changes in the medium. They come from the circumstances that you're surrounded by. But I quite like that. In the theatre, you get 6 weeks rehearsal if you're lucky, so you prepare, learn the lines and all the rest of it, and then you'll test it on that first preview. In the movies, you arrive prepared, having learned your lines, and you'll be lucky if you get to go through it once, and then you're on. be nerve-wracking. It is nerve-wracking, but it produces its own particular kind of excitement and adrenaline, terror, if you like. And if you learn how to use that, control that, then that can be good too. But it's always a fine line. And of course, I was nervous on the first day. I could hardly see because the contact lenses have directional vision, but no peripheral vision. And I was led to the top of the staircase before I came out of shit. And Dave Toplin, who was the wonderful first assistant director, said, "Hi, Ian, nice to meet you." I just, hello. He said, "We're just going to do a rehearsal now. And you're now at the top of this vast flight of stairs. And all we want you to do is walk down, hit your marks." I thought, "God, let's see my marks." And you know, you've got lines, obviously, so you greet Darth Vader, Dave Prowse will be down there waiting for you, and there'll be a couple of other people, and they'll probably bow or deal or something. You know, it's rehearsal, don't worry about it. So suddenly there was smoke all around, I couldn't see anything. The doors opened, and thank God I had a stick. And I gingerly went all the way down the stairs, saw this very tall person in a shiny helmet who spoke to me. I couldn't hear a single word because he was up there, and anyway, he was speaking in a Bristolian accent. But I knew I was going to have to imagine James Earl Jones in terms of timing as well as town, so I did. I managed to see the marks, which were just down there, and then this person knelt before me, and they shouted, "Cut." And then this person got up, and he turned out to be an actor I know very well, called Michael Pennington. Got up and went, "My God, it's you!" And, and I was furious. Didn't I talk like that? I had this mask on and everything I was giving, you know, how could you possibly recognize me? He didn't know me very well. And I said, "Well, listen, I'd have done this job for nothing if I knew that you were going to greet me on your knees." And then they announced that it wasn't a rehearsal, it was a take. And we go again a bit closer. And so that's what it was like. But it was exciting. It calmed down a little after that. But that's what the movies can be like. And even though it wasn't going to be released for about 2 years, and that's been the case with all of the Star Wars movies, they always want you to do it yesterday. So there's always a pressure on to get it done, and get it done as efficiently as possible. But George's manner is very easy and very relaxed, and of course, we got to know each other very well over the years. And that's one of the things that helps on a movie. If you've got the confidence of the people you're working with, that works wonders. And you may not have the immediate confidence because you won't necessarily know everybody, but from the technical department, you will get, on that word, action, supreme concentration, absolutely everywhere on set. You get perfect silence with everyone focusing on helping you to do your best. So that's a big one too.
You talked about getting that call from George Lucas before he cast you in Return of the Jedi, and what an awesome call that is to get. What was your thoughts on or your knowledge of the whole Star Wars universe at that